Hi, today I'm here with my friend Nick. He is a product manager that I've worked with before at Khan Academy, and today we're going to talk a little bit about a project he's working on, and I'm going to critique something that he's made recently.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Do you want to give a brief introduction about yourself and your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, we got to work together at Khan Academy, which was a great experience. Prior to that, I had about 15 years of product management experience as an operator. I was also a founder at a Techstars company. And now, post Khan Academy and post another nonprofit, I'm going through a fun career transition, like so many people, doing more fractional work as well as spinning up my coaching and consulting practices. So I'm doing a lot of different things. And
That's awesome.
you're going to
Yeah.
give me some feedback, I think,
Yes.
about how clear I'm being. But one of the things that I'm doing is trying to support more product managers because I gave about 50 free product coaching calls late last year. And PMs kept talking to me more and more about not feeling supported with the softer skills. And influence is a really big
Mhm,
topic for PMs.
mhm.
So I wanted to find a way to support them that would scale. And that's the context for what we'll look at.
Cool. Let's take a look at the website. Okay, so this is the website that we are looking at today. Do you want to give me a little bit of context about what you're trying to do with the site?
Yes, I'm about to launch my course. It's called the Influential PM. And the goal of the website is for people to understand what it's about, decide if it's for them, and enroll.
Cool. Looking at it right now, I already have a lot of questions and a lot of thoughts. I think maybe we'll start with like this top area first, and then we can kind of go down the page in detail and kind of ask some questions that I have after looking at it. Okay, so my first question is, I think right now there's a big focus on this. Like, this is like the first thing I saw for some reason,
Yeah,
Polytrope Labs, and
yeah,
I have no idea what it is. Is
right.
it like the site platform you're hosting this course on? Like, is it your own brand? Why should I trust Polytrope Labs? Like, what is it?
Should I answer that?
Do you want to answer
Yeah,
it?
so I mean, I'm glad you're calling it out, and this is something I'm still working with. Is how many sites, how many platforms have
Mhm.
Polytrope Labs is the name for right now for all of my activities. So I
Oh, okay.
mentioned my coaching, my
Yeah.
consulting, and any courses I do
Okay.
all live under Polytrope Labs, which is currently just me,
Okay.
but could grow to things later. So it's my one hub.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. I have a similar thing where like everything I do is under design as a party, but after I started that, I started branding everything under my name instead because I
Mm.
felt like it made it a little less confusing. And so I don't know if having your name here will kind of make it feel a little more personal, like your own
Would
project.
you recommend having like a completely separate one site, like a single site, the influentialpm.org or
I
something?
think so, yeah, because another thing I was going to point out is it is a little bit overwhelming looking at this right now because what I see is this like book and intro thing, which I know I'm not, I don't know if like this is what you want me to do when I'm
Right.
looking at the influential PM. And I think there's like kind of a lot going on. And so I wonder if having the focus of this being your course site can be helpful because I do have a separate course site for my course as well. Yeah. Scrolling down, I really want to kind of like break apart this section right here. I think the main thing I notice is that there's a lot of like repetition between this left area and this right area. And I think it makes it overwhelming to look at because it's like the influential PM, and then it's like the influential PM,
Mhm.
and then it's like, here's a photo of you, and then there's a picture here, and then there's bullets and stuff. And so I'm curious if you had any like thought process behind why you put it like this.
Yeah, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on my thought process because this might be a PM design thing.
Mhm,
What I did is I went to Maven. Maven is a well-known course
mhm,
platform, and I found one of its top courses, although it turns out that all of its courses are structured the same way.
mhm,
And I looked at the structure and I cloned to the best of my ability
mhm.
the Maven structure here.
Oh,
So
okay, got
without
it.
even really thinking about it, I just assumed
Oh,
there's many smart people working there.
yeah,
It's a multi-million dollar company.
yeah.
Surely they've had experiments and I'll
Mhm.
just sort of coast off of
Got
whatever
it. Got
without
it.
really thinking about why.
Oh, okay. Got it. I think like looking at this as a designer, I was a little bit like, oh my God, like I don't really know what the thought process is. But after explaining that, that makes sense because I've definitely been on Maven before. I guess like
Oh,
some,
I'll tell you
yeah.
actually, now that you're mentioning,
Uh,
I think one of the reasons, and I don't live up to this, is when you scroll down on Maven, this card to the right
yeah.
scrolls with you.
Oh, so you
So
can like
you have a
constantly
persistent
I
enrollment call
see.
to action.
Okay, got it. I do like the idea of the enroll button constantly being there, but the page is really short already, so
Yeah.
you could also consider putting it at the bottom too. Um, but I think like my biggest feedback for this header area is that I feel like the the reason why I should take this course is a little bit lost since I feel like there's a lot being communicated at me right now. And I wonder if there's a way for you to highlight like a specific thing that makes it stand out more. So, for example, this quote here, the trick to becoming influential is to avoid all tricks, seems like something that is special to your course. And so I wonder if there should be more focus on this. I find it overwhelming that these this card is here. And so I wonder if there's a way to combine them both,
Hmm.
especially since you're currently not designing like a course platform. You don't need to create a scalable system. And so I wonder if like having like the header area be like a little bit more grand and have all this stuff combined together with one enroll button
Right.
could work.
I like
But
that.
yeah.
One of the things I struggle with is like, one of the reasons I made this course is because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about influence and
Mhm.
want it to be like basically like how to become a better car salesman person.
Oh, okay.
And so what I'm trying to reinforce both in the copy and the
Hmm.
design is like influence from first principles.
Yeah.
Like what is influence really
Hmm.
and how to approach it authentically.
Oh, okay, got it, got it. I think like focusing somehow like highlighting that up here would be really helpful. The other thing I was wondering is like, why is this in a quote? Is that like something you said or?
It is a quote from the course.
Oh,
And then
okay,
and
got
then in the course I
it.
also credit someone else who uses that phrase in
Okay.
to becoming trusted. So I
Mhm.
kind of paraphrase. So I feel like it's quotes all the way down.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. But yeah, I would definitely highlight this more. Um, the other thing is that from what I've noticed with these like types of courses, um, it's always good to highlight like so I'm noticing that there's like some limited like
Mm,
offer going on, and it's always useful to highlight that, especially if it's like a limited time thing. But personally, I find that it's kind of hidden right now.
hmm.
So I wonder if there's a way you can like bring this into like the CTA or something, so there's a little bit more urgency to like show that this like offer is like
Right.
limited. And
Right.
here it's not clear to me unlike here that it's like basically half off.
Right.
And so I think having like some doing the math for people might help too. Yeah. Um, cool. And yeah, I think the double buttons is stressful, but having one seems to be better.
What do you think about that typeface for the influential? Do you have any
This.
feedback on the script there?
I think it's okay.
Okay.
I don't have any strong feelings
Okay.
for or for
It's
against
not a
it.
it's not like giving you a negative reaction.
It is not giving me a negative reaction
That
or
gives
like an
me a
overly
positive feeling.
okay,
Yeah.
good. It's not also giving a super positive reaction either. It's kind of like
Sure.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could make it bigger, but I personally like bigger typography, and so um, if you want to be a little bit
If I
bolder,
pursue this full kind of taking the
yeah,
whole hero space up there.
yeah, I would definitely consider that. And then also like one thing I forgot to mention is this picture graphic feels very random, and
Hmm.
so I don't know if this is going to be like the image you use to
It is really random. What do you think about it?
it it honestly makes no sense to be honest here. Like I don't get what it has to do with being influential or a PM. And then there's like the moon, and
Well,
it
the
looks
moon
cool,
and
but
like tides. I was kind of like thinking about like tidal energy and like
uh-huh. Did you did you
that
draw it
mechanism.
or generate it?
I generated it with the help of Midjourney.
Okay, see, I knew that was coming too. I feel like if you're generating something by Journey, you might be able to come up with like a concept that fits more, even more specifically with the influential PM, and that also kind of maybe stands out a little bit more. Right now, it feels like a little bit like generically cool.
Right.
But the rainbows are cool
Thank you.
and it's very colorful.
Thanks.
And I do wonder if you can make yourself a more part of the graphic instead of having your image being like a circle.
Like I could put my face in the moon.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Something like that I think would definitely stand out. Yeah. Um, yeah. I would also, this is like, I'm kind of getting distracted, but I also wonder if there's like other images of you that are like you teaching or something. I think it might feel a little bit more
Mm,
personal because this one feels really like LinkedIn headshot.
yeah.
And so like I think any photo that like shows more of your personality might be cool. Um, yeah, I think that's most things from the header area. There's one thing I'm gonna mention right now before I forget, but the spacing here, this is like a huge net. The spacing here, I would definitely
Mm,
double check on because the gap is pretty big.
yeah.
You might also be able to add like a heading or something that explains what these bullets are. Okay. Any other questions about the header area?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. You can also bring in one other, you can also bring in the blue into the enroll so that it's like pops more.
Mm,
And if you end up keeping this a similar color palette, the blue kind of matches, and so it could kind of all
hmm.
be a family. Okay. Let's scroll down. So the course creator, I would personally go a little bit deeper here, maybe, and make it a little bit more personal. Maybe you can put like a video introducing yourself, and kind of like highlighting your teaching style. Um, I think I know you pretty well, but like reading this, I'm like, why should I take this person's course? Who are they? And so maybe if you can like add a little bit more of yourself here, that'd be cool.
What do you know about me that isn't there that I could say that would make you be like, oh, this, maybe, or is it more just getting a feel for who
I
I am
think
as
it's
a person?
getting a feel for who you are as a person, and I think like without seeing like how you speak or how you interact with people or how you like explain something, it's hard to say that
Right.
like I would be excited to like sign
Yeah.
up immediately. Especially if this is like if you're marketing this online, I think like Khan Academy is like a pretty strong name, but then I think I noticed like people online, if there's not enough like there aren't enough like big brand names behind someone, they're like more hesitant to sign up and they might
Right.
want to do more research before they get into it.
Right.
Yeah. Mm. And same goes here for the image. You might be able to find something that's a little bit more personal. Okay. Course overview. You can also experiment with like swapping these orders later, but
Yeah.
the course overview, this part when I saw it before we chatted, this like really overwhelmed me.
Mm,
I really love reading, but I don't like reading like on a website. Like I don't know if I'd read this outside of the context of a blog post. Um, and I think like the content itself is really good, but I wonder if there's a way you can like package it into like a either like a video or like some imagery or kind of like separating out with like people you've like mentored before and like their stories and how
right.
they've worked with you. I think it's like a compelling pitch, but it's a lot of reading. And from my experience, people don't really read. So um yeah, my thoughts there. Have you thought about adding any like imagery here?
Well, I like your prompt to maybe include other media and maybe bring in other people's
Mm-hmm.
stories. Part of this is because I'm starting this course now. I just had
Mm-hmm.
one person who went through it on a pilot,
Oh,
and so she's gonna at some point hopefully send me a note.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
She gave me positive feedback, but I want to get qualitative feedback. And then yeah, there are other PMs who I've like supported in the past, even if not in the context of this
Yeah.
course. So that was the thing that I was struggling with is sort of uh, because it's so focused on influence.
Hmm.
I wanted to honor that, while at the same time, yeah, I think it does would benefit from a little bit more like social proof, probably.
Yeah, 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 I think so. Um, you could also like consider like weaving in the course outline somehow into what you're saying
Mm.
here. That might make it more interesting.
Just
But
to even break it up more.
yeah, to break it up more, and then you could like these are pretty like high level, and so I wonder if you can talk a little bit more about what you plan to do in each of the sections and also add more as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think like a really good video in which I talk about myself and briefly describe the course outline could do like so much heavy lifting that maybe there's very little text needed?
yeah, I think
You
so.
think people would be willing to I guess because I'm anchoring so much just in like Maven,
Hmm.
they sort of do this, they overwhelm me with text.
Oh,
And so
interesting.
I'm operating from the belief that I kind
Yeah.
of need to do that.
Yeah, I think you can do both too. Like some people read. It could also be for SEO. I'm not sure, but I would
Yeah, interesting.
do like I think a video is probably better for like the general person,
Mhm.
especially if especially since this is a live course.
Right.
Like I think that would do a lot. And then you can still have the text here as like backup if someone wants to dive into it. Personally, I've noticed some people will read the fine print if they are really interested and they're trying to learn more, but the video kind of gets them interested.
It seems like there's a personality type that's like, maybe I'm just imagining this because I've
Yeah,
never met this person, but it
yeah,
seems like there is a person who's like needs to see, they need to be able to scroll for at least 20 seconds before they're
yeah,
willing to like
yeah, and they
commit.
think it's like worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because that makes sense. That's what I've seen with a lot of these course sites too. But yeah, I would definitely dive as deep as you can here. I think right now it's like a little bit like vague.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also one question I had was like, how long are these? It
Mm,
only says like 11, and so like I think highlighting the length of the sessions
great.
would really help as well. Also, this one says like live sessions are recorded, so it implies that people who can't make it to the live session can also sign up. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I think I try to say that here, where you'll get access to all video recordings.
Yeah. What I realized is people will definitely still ask you the question.
Yeah.
So when I was scrolling through, I think I would recommend putting like an FAQ at the bottom.
That's a good
Um,
idea.
and that will hopefully fuel away people with questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And FAQs always have those accordion things anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a
So
nice
they'll
way to
like
like
collapse.
everybody wins, where
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
you can
yeah.
expand all of them if you want to.
Exactly, exactly. My final note about the design is I think you could um, experiment with other design patterns for how this is laid out, whether it be two columns or even making it take up more space. If you make it take up more space, it could also make the course feel more worth it because there's like more, the course outline looks longer.
Mm,
And so I think experimenting with that would be
that's
cool.
cool.
And
Maybe like a journey or some
yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah, a journey thing. And if you want to continue generating other imagery, you can also generate one image per section.
Mhm,
That might make this feel less random.
mhm.
It's like more in the
Yeah.
rest of
Well,
the
I have
website.
half of my foot in very simple, like off the shelf, just
Yeah,
Kajabi.
yeah,
Don't think it like I've made almost no style
yeah,
choices, but then I have this other foot in like this pretty exotic
yeah,
AI feeling,
yeah.
and I think I'm probably gonna abandon the AI
Mhm.
design, but
Okay.
just what I've experienced, not being a designer, is every design choice I make damages the credibility, and so I
Yeah.
try to make very few design choices. But
Got it.
but I do think like something like a journey, if executed well, would work.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, can I ask you an
yeah,
interesting
sure.
like prompt? Like, let's say I had a budget of $500
Mm-hmm.
to spend, so not a ton of money, but
Mm-hmm.
enough that maybe someone would pick up.
Mm-hmm.
How would you recommend I spend $500 to elevate this page?
Elevate this
Mm-hmm.
page. Um, you're probably not gonna like this answer. My first thought was buy a font from that's not free. You can usually buy like one weight of a font for like $30 for the license for one website, 30 to 50 depending what it is. And typically the ones that aren't free are better. They're like higher quality. You're also
Right.
supporting the designer. So that could make this website stand out a lot just from like one font. Um, it's like one idea.
I like that.
Let's see. Then we still have like $450
Yeah, we got
left.
money.
You do have money. My other thought is hiring a really good illustrator that you really like, that you think captures your values. For example, if you went with someone who does kind of like doodle style versus someone who does like really high resolution, like surrealist style, that
Mm.
kind of gives off very different vibes. And I think that could also contribute a lot to the course, especially if you have them illustrate one thing
Yeah,
per
I would love that.
module,
That could be cool.
then you can reuse it for the course as well. Um, those are like the two main things. I don't know if there's like anything else you could spend on that would like make that big of a difference. The other thing would be like somehow giving people more of a taste of what to expect. So you can like, do you have like a preview of the first 5 minutes of what
Mhm.
you plan to do on June 13th?
Yeah.
Like that could be helpful too, but that's more of like time spent, like if you want to preview it and not necessarily spending more money.
Right. Right.
Mm,
I like those ideas.
yeah, I think those are like my main ones. Yeah. Mhm. So yeah, I think that was like the entire site. Definitely would put the enroll button at the bottom too.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that you wanted to talk through on the site?
One thing I'm noticing I haven't done that I'd like to is sort
Mhm.
of who is this for? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mid-career PMs, directors, like what are we talking about? So I definitely do that. And including like the who is this not for, I think is always
Oh yeah,
when
that's really
when you can
important.
be clear
Yeah,
about it, you won't get value out of this material.
yeah. I think that that'd be really, really good. You can even like put like people you've worked with before, like under those
Mhm.
sections, to highlight like different types of people who have taken your course before.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for chatting with
This
me
is a very
today.
gentle roast. Thank you.
Yeah, I try to be nice. Okay, cool.
Great.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.